And now here's Kevin.
Good evening, and everybody. Welcome to the December 23 Ask the Experts meeting. Does anybody have any questions?
I have one, if nobody else is ready to speak up.
You go for it, Bob.
Quite often when I get something online or an email or something like that, um, I want to make a PDF out of it. And so I select print and then select PDF in the lower left-hand corner of the print dialog box. Before my latest machine, there was a way that I went in and made it, if I went Command P to print and then Command P again, it created the PDF for me rather than going there and clicking in the print dialog box. And I don't remember how to do that. You have any ideas, Kevin, on that?
Give me 1 second. I'm looking at something. Did you have an app like God, I'm trying to think of the name of it. There's apps that you could assign key cord.
No, I don't have that. I think it was doing it in Mac OS and assigning a keystroke to
You could
something.
do it in Mac OS to do a keystroke for a shortcut, but I don't know if they allow a shortcut for save as PDF. Let me take a
Well,
quick
that's
look.
okay. It's something I've been missing for, I don't know, probably a year, and just never got around to, I either never got around to figuring it out or finding it again, or remembering to ask at this session.
Okay.
Under keyboard?
Alternate remote.
Keyboard shortcuts?
Yeah, there was another one. It was
There's one command that says export as PDF.
Yeah, I can do that by taking the mouse and selecting PDF from the dialog box in the lower left-hand corner. But I do it often enough. I really don't want to do that with the mouse. I'd rather just go Command P and then Command P and then start naming it. App shortcuts,
sure.
is that it?
It might be. Let me see if all application title menu is PDF.
Hey, Helen, it's Kurt.
Second.
Welcome.
Entered exactly in the menu. So it would be save as PDF with 3 dots. Whoops. This enter. Nope.
As I recall, it didn't require any other, third-party application. It just required you to do something. Like open that up.
Yeah.
I'm just opening an email and going to go Command P and then go to app shortcuts and add an app shortcut.
Yeah, but it's you have to give the menu title that you're trying to do. And then you have to enter the exact name of the submenu, and I can't, under PDF. Probably save as PDF.
Save as PDF, save as PDF dot, dot, dot.
Right. And keyboard shortcut Command Shift E and say done. No, it doesn't work. It's PDF. See, is you have to enter the exact name, and where it wants you to enter the exact name has always been a pain in the neck to get to that line.
Okay. Don't worry about it, Kevin. I'll do some other research, and if I find it or if you find it, let's talk about it next month.
Yes, sir.
So,
Does anybody use the tags on their emails? There's a nice,
not as a regular thing.
because a nice thing called mail cubed, small cube mail suite that lets you tag your emails.
Doesn't work in Sonoma though.
That's why, that's the point. Well, they have developed their own email client for that, but I don't know. So the one solution seems to be something called a mail butler. Anybody use that?
I've used Mail Butler, but it doesn't do the same thing.
Well, no, but you can tag it now. Although they seem to be, they seem to have their doubts about using Sonoma. I was wondering whether anybody had any use on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't used it in Sonoma, so David, you're muted.
Yeah. I think I know the answer to this, but I just wanted to verify. My wife and I share the same Apple ID. She gets constantly complaining to me that when she closes or rings on her activity, it has my name on it. And from best I could tell, it's because we have one single Apple ID. I could not figure out any other way to get her name on it. Now, her name's on the phone, it's on her watch, but when it goes to that app, it shows my name, and mine does the same thing on, so there's two of me. And I have to keep telling her, no, those are your actual activities and mine are different. See?
Yeah, the problem is having the same Apple ID. You really should have separate. And what the best way to do it is have a separate and then create a family. This way, when you pay for an app or subscription, she doesn't have to repay for it.
I'm not sure I'm following that.
So in other words, the main reason a lot of people have used or shared an Apple ID is so that they can have contacts that are shared. Or you buy an app and it's available on all your devices.
Yeah.
So what Apple has done years ago, they created this thing called a family.
Right.
So you could buy an app and any member of your family, you could share things like notes, calendars, applications, but they have their own Apple ID.
Is that an extra cost?
No,
All right, that might be worth looking into.
But you
Nothing
cannot,
else to calm the waters.
You
Thank
cannot
you.
share contact.
Yes, you can. What
How?
you do is you have a group and you subscribe to the other person's Apple ID. There's a way to do it in the Contacts app. I've done it for several of my clients.
Okay, go slowly, please.
So in Contacts, if you open the Contacts app on your Mac and go to the settings or go under Contacts, go to Accounts. And under Accounts, hold on, let me get there. I'm doing something else at the same time. Under Accounts, nope, not there. Hold on. Contacts. Yeah, so you go to the settings, so you hit Command colon or Command comma, and then click on Accounts, and you could add a second person that way. And you could subscribe to somebody else's contacts. In Notes or in Calendars, there'll be a family calendar, which is shared between two people. Same thing in Notes, you just could subscribe to individual notes and stuff like that. So does that make sense?
So do you you hit the plus sign to add that person?
Yeah, so if you want to add, well, first off, you have to have the second person. So like say, Roger, if I wanted to add one of my contact groups to you, so let me go into contacts real quick. And I'll create a new group. File. New, I guess they call them lists now.
Right.
Okay, then if I take that list, whoops, and under contact settings, if you go into accounts, if you hit a plus on the bottom, you could add my Apple ID. I'd have to sign in, of course. So you'd have to have my credentials. But once I'm signed in, you share contacts and they show separate. So you'd have Roger's contacts and you'd have Kevin's contacts.
Okay, so you choose other contacts account
Right.
in the pop-up where it says iCloud, Microsoft, etc.
No. You're not. Let me see. Does it say that in there? When I hit plus, yeah, you would do iCloud if it's Google, Yahoo, or whatever. So you would just add the second person. You've just got to figure out what you want shared. And if you have a family in your calendars, you'll have all your normal calendars and it automatically adds one called a family calendar. So if you put things in your calendar, if it's under family, both people see it.
Oh, okay. Work on that. Because Melissa once had the solution to have a third Apple ID for the contact.
No, you don't want to do that because that just complicates things. I have one client that used to have, they went over to Apple. It was a husband and wife. They went over to Apple and Apple said, hey, you need a new Apple ID. Now they had two each. So what I did is to make things easier, I created a family for them, but they just got rid of one of their iPhone 12s. And when she signed out of iCloud, because the way Apple had set it up initially, to reset an iPhone, you have to sign out of iCloud. And they did that, but it didn't disconnect her husband's iCloud account from her phone. So it's still activated, locked to his account. The problem was he died 2 years ago. And nobody has access to his account. So she has an iPhone 12 that she was trying to get rid of that is now a brick. And Apple said there's no way to do it.
Ouch.
Anybody else have any questions?
I posted on our Facebook group a news story from Channel 13, which has appeared in many other places, about the data breach at Comcast. And Comcast is requesting everybody to change their password. And if they use the same password that they used on Comcast anywhere else, to go to that site and change that password to a unique password.
Yeah, it's amazing how they started doing that a month ago, and it wasn't until yesterday that they announced the breach was happening. Did
Right?
that solve the problem for your client?
No.
We'll have to get together and work on that.
Yeah, I spent an hour in chat this afternoon with Comcast, and uh, they finally kicked it up to a special team to see if they could figure it out. But I have other Comcast clients who are not having any problems at all.
They will. And they're going through a cycle. I had one client that was out today. They spent 2 hours over at Comcast the other day trying to figure out why their email wasn't working. And finally, they had them change their password because the people at Comcast didn't even know there was a breach. And once they changed their password, everything worked fine.
Anyone have any concern about the Apple Watch 9 and the I think it's the blood oxygen sensor debacle that Apple's having right now with the copyright violation?
I've got an item in the slideshow that covers that.
Good, okay.
They say the White House is keeping an eye on it, which means they'll step in at the last minute.
Just what we need, more political involvement.
Yeah. I had a interesting thing. I got the wife a Apple Watch 9 early Christmas present and sent in my Apple Watch 6 that she had. They gave me an estimate of $30. I go, okay, well, it's 3 generations old. It's a little bit dinged up with her banging around in her job. And sent it in. And lo and behold, I got $120 back.
Oh, that's
You
great.
know,
As long as you do it within
underestimated the
14
value of your
days.
watch. That was great. Little Christmas present from Apple.
Well, that's good to know. I actually requested an estimate on my Series 4 Apple Watch this afternoon, and it came out to be $60. So
Wow.
It's cellular then, your Apple 4.
no, it's not cellular.
It'll be $60 if you do it within 14 days of the purchase of the Apple Watch. If it's past 14 days, it drops down to 35. So just from experience.
Yeah, this is Mark Yarnish. I had an experience about a week ago. My wife and I were out working, doing some planning stuff, and he put a bucket behind me. I didn't see it, and tripped over it and fell, and got tangled up with a shovel, and I couldn't get up. My watch kept beeping. Did you fall? Did you fall? Did you fall? And I couldn't reach the damn watch. And finally, I was able to reach it when I got up, but it worked. The fall mechanism worked on my Apple Watch.
Right.
And they're getting better. They're on for fall detection, not getting false readings like they did at first. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. This is Mark Yarnish again. On the Apple HomePods, does anybody have any problems with those? I can't keep connected to them, and then it'll play, and when I do get connected, it'll play, and then it'll all of a sudden now it'll quit. No specific time, it just quits and starts playing something I don't even know, music that I don't even know where it's coming from.
The problem that I've seen with HomePods are when people have multiple Apple IDs and would set one HomePod under one Apple ID and then try to reset it up under a different one. They'll switch. So it may work for you for 15 minutes and suddenly it'll stop working and say work under Pam's Apple ID. I had a friend of mine who had that, and we basically had to remove everything from both Apple IDs, reset all the HomePods. And not just when you remove it from your Apple ID, you actually have to go into the Home app and remove your home. And then create a brand new home under one person, and then invite the second person. Not sign in under their Apple ID, but you actually have to invite them as a user. And then it'll work perfect.
So go into the Home app on our phones, delete those, and then have one person re-sign put the Home app.
Well, you're not deleting the app. You're going in under your home. So like you may have one called Home on your
Right.
phone. Pam may have it under her phone as Tucson.
Right.
Whatever those homes are, you delete them on both phones. Then you reset the Apple ID, or not the Apple ID, reset the HomePod, and then set it up under, say, your Apple ID. How many HomePods do you have?
2.
Okay, you set both of them up under your Apple ID. After they're set up and working, then you invite Pam to join your home. Then you would type in her Apple ID. She'll get an alert on her phone to join your home. One thing to note is that look at what your home is named now. Make sure you use a distinct name.
Okay. All right, we'll try it. Thanks.
Anyone else? Anyone running Sonoma? There was an update that came out a few hours ago.
Yeah, I saw that when I was logging in. I'll do that after this.
Okay. Also for your iPhone, if you're on 17.2.
Yeah, let's see what I got on that. I know I'm a beta tester on the 17.3 for the iPod,
Beta 3 is out, I believe now, is the latest one.
Yeah, I got that, I think, yesterday. Let me see what the
I'm not that brave anymore.
yeah, I got one machine I do the beta testing on.
If you have a new computer that's got Sonoma on it, do you recommend updating?
Yes. Yeah, if you have Sonoma on any machine, keep it up to date. It may be a good idea sometimes to wait one day to do the update. I don't, because if there's a bug in it, Apple kind of comes out pretty quickly with the fix.
Thanks.
I have Sonoma 14.0.
You should upgrade to 14.2.1.
Thank you.
Hey, Kevin, I got a question for you, or for the group.
Yes.
I'm a longtime FileMaker user, and I think we got a couple here in the group. Yeah, Kurt. I'm thinking of getting off it. I think you were too at one time. Did you find an alternative, or?
No, I'm still on it.
Yeah, I'm using. I may transition some of my stuff just to numbers and leave it at that. But
Yeah. What's the latest version cost these days?
I haven't even looked it up, but
$300.
it's
Just
many
outrageous.
hundreds.
It's outrageous. There was some talk about they were going to do something about a free version or something, but never happened.
Yeah.
They had Bento for a while,
Yeah,
and
was short.
I was talking I mentioned before the meeting that the last time I actually used FileMaker, it was made by another company. I just looked it up. It was Neshoba Systems up in Massachusetts.
Wow.
They had FileMaker 1, 2, and 3, I believe.
Wasn't it Clarus?
It was before Clarus bought them.
Wow.
So, nope, FileMaker 4. And then when Clarus bought it, they changed it to FileMaker Pro.
Yeah. Well, they're up around 20 now or something. 19, 20, something like that, I think.
Just nuts.
And to get the true use out of it, you need both the server version and client version.
Well, it's very much geared for enterprises now, not so much for individual. Yeah.
Depending on how big your databases are, have you looked at Airtable?
I did actually about a year ago, but they had a subscription and all that sort of thing. I didn't know that I wanted to dive into it. Do you use that, Tony?
Yeah, I've used that. For a while, they had free for less than 2,000 records. So it was free for up to a certain size. So that's why I'm asking, depending on how big your databases are.
Well, I've got one that's, I don't know, 16,000 records or something, goes back years, but
Yeah, FileMaker is back to Clarus and $43 a month.
Yeah.
So, and that's Clarus Connect or Cloud. Clarus, and I don't know what the difference are. Oh, they have a free version to test. You want to connect the FileMaker to the rest of the tech stack. Yeah, I don't know. It has totally changed.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to end up leaving it behind.
The TMUG database is still on FileMaker.
Oh, is it?
TMUG.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we could look at, I don't think we have more than 1,000 records, do we?
No.
More like 100.
Yeah, less than 100 actually.
You don't keep the old records in there?
No, I make copies.
LibreOffice has a database module, and that's free. You don't have to pay for that.
Right.
I use it for drawings as well, and they have a spreadsheet function as well, LibreOffice.
Is it a flat database or a relational?
I don't know what kind of database it is, but they have a module asking you if you want to create it.
I'll maybe look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, I started fooling around with Airtable and it just so complicated.
It may be complicated, or maybe it's just not the same as FileMaker that you're used to.
Yeah, terminology and everything is different, so.
Right. I was real happy with Claris Works flat file database. It did everything I wanted to do, and I understood it. And I just wish that Apple would come back with that updated today. But
LibreOffice will open the ClarisWorks and AppleWorks files.
well, I don't have either of those anymore.
I actually have AppleWorks running in a virtual machine for the few times a year I
Will
need it.
LibreOffice open a FileMaker file? Rich?
You have to export it.
Yeah, it's a complicated CSV file and all that, and yeah.
Well, no, you can export it in, if you select export to Excel,
Right.
it will XSLX.
Well, as my evening woe and a Tesla owner family, it looks like Apple just recalled my iPhone and my Mac Studio.
What do you
Really?
mean by recalled them?
Well, if you're a Tesla follower, over-the-air software updates are called recalls by the the
Oh.
government.
That seems to be an
That's what
unfortunate
humor there.
name.
Pardon?
It seems to be an unfortunate title for an update, calling it a recall.
They do that all the time, and it turns out it's just an over-the-air software update. So we were kind of joking about, well, every time Apple sends me a software update, we ought to call that a recall.
I
Yeah,
don't.
confused.
Welcome, Diana. Evidently, things are running very
Oh,
smoothly for
hello.
business.
I finally realized I was muted.
Do you have a question, Diana?
Actually, I do.
You're up.
I have an old Mini and I have a new Mini. And I don't want to just throw it all over on the new machine because I have stuff I would rather not have on my machine. Anyway, what's the best way to put a third-party application in your new machine with
And-
like machines?
Depends on the application, and whether or not it's valid anymore. If you you can migrate your applications over and not your documents if you want to do that. That's probably the easiest way. The other way would be to install each app as you need it, but some apps, depending on licensing, may not install.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was wondering. And if I have to look around for the, how I installed it to begin with, if I have to look for that,
You would definitely need like your serial numbers and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, and you can't just like drag it over on the machine because there's all these other places that stuff goes, right?
Right.
So what would I get if I just migrate the applications then?
You would have the applications, you'd have to, you just wouldn't have you wouldn't have any of your documents. So anything in your home folder would not be there. Or you could just migrate
I can take care of that. What I'm more worried about is what I have to do about these applications that I don't want brought over.
It's easier if you migrate everything over and then just use something like app delete or something like that to delete the apps that you don't want.
You know, the thing that I worry about, FileMaker as an example, like, I don't know how long ago I bought it, but I mean, a million years ago. And that serial number, registration and everything else is, I assume is still valid, even though I've just followed upgrade paths for years. And so whether that original registration is still valid, I have no idea. I mean, some of these things are probably close to 20 years old, or maybe even longer.
It's not whether they're valid, Kurt. The problem that a lot of people are experiencing, I have a friend of mine that this just happened to. A lot of companies like Adobe no longer allows you to register old software. So their registration servers have shut down. You can legally own it, and you can migrate it from one machine to another, but you can't do a clean install of it.
Install, yeah.
Yeah, Kurt, I wondered too whether you could, whether the new machines would even accommodate the old software with the
As
changes.
long as it's 64-bit, it should.
Yeah, I've got a mini here, and it's I migrated over as I have for many machines, and it all works just fine. I keep saying to myself, you know, one of these days I really ought to do a clean install and get rid of all of the sawdust that's lying around in the machine. But I'm not really willing to go through that arduous process.
Yes,
It
that's
takes a week or two.
that's exactly the sawdust is really what I'm trying to leave.
Well, a lot of when you use migration assistance, it will remove a lot of that sawdust, as you put it. Things that'll no longer work, are incompatible with the system. So migration assistant has gotten really good.
Hey, Kevin, I'm thinking of getting a new Mac, and I've got a 10-year-old machine. And I hardly have any apps I want to bring over other than the standard ones. Would you suggest just loading up a new machine piece by piece?
Well, first off, why do you want a new machine?
Well, I got a 2014 iMac. I can't run. It's not supported anymore.
Yeah, but does it do everything that you need it to do?
Well, I'm ready to get on with the new software and get my security updates and everything else. I'm not getting security updates anymore.
Okay. Well, other than that, and this is a loaded question, and let me explain why I'm doing that. Let me pull this out. This is a 2013 MacBook Pro. You know, with the one with the translucent apple.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running Sonoma on here.
Wow.
This hasn't been supported since Big Sur, I think was the last OS, but you could update them. They run a little slow, but they're usable. So if your computer can do everything that you need it to do, you could update the operating system by patching it. It's not that difficult. And you don't need to buy a new computer. My big thing on buying a new computer is if your old computer is too slow for what you need, and it just will not work for what you want to do, get a new computer. Other than that, upgrade old ones.
Well,
Bob, excuse me, but Bob, I believe mine is starting to wink at me. You know, I get this feeling that something's not quite right every time I upgrade something.
yeah.
Diana, it could also be because sometimes the hardware is just too old and it starts wearing out.
Well, anyway, I go back to my original question. If I get a new one, and I really don't have any third-party apps to put on it, you suggest doing migration still or not?
Well, if you're going to be getting rid of the old one, yes. And the reason being all your files will be there.
So do it for bringing the file. I'm like everybody else. I'm kind of trying to leave everything in the past in the sense of anything that may be 10 years old laying on the machine, but you still think it's worthwhile doing for the data.
Yeah, because you never know. There might be something in there that you throw out and then you say, God, I wish I would have saved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you finish migrating, you can just delete them, right? Delete the apps you don't want anymore. Pretty much, or you could delete them before you migrate over. I'm not too sure how much sawdust comes over with it once you delete an app, but I kind of was in the same boat you are, Bob, that I'm going, a lot of stuff I don't use anymore, so I just deleted it and said, these are the things I want on my machine, and I got a new machine only because I'm getting old and it might be the last machine I buy, who knows? But now what I got on it runs fine, and now I got a reasonably new machine.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge. One thing that you may want to do is just any files, instead of deleting them, archive them to a hard drive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I was just at the Apple store and I noticed a new product that I was not previously aware of called Eve cameras. Anybody know anything about them? They're security cameras. They are supposed to work especially with Apple products.
Yeah, the Eve cameras are fully HomeKit compatible. Eve also makes their version of the Home app, which is really nice and is compatible with anything that's HomeKit compatible. It all depends on what your needs are, Susan. I use Ring cameras and I use them through HomeKit as well. So you don't have to spend, so I didn't have to spend the extra money for the Eve stuff.
Do you have external cameras or just internal?
I have right now, I have 4 externals and 2 more that's going to be installed in a couple of months, and 1 internal in the garage.
So all of those are Ring.
Yes.
And you're happy with them?
Extremely.
I would say so.
Yeah, I even have the Ring alarm system, so, and they all tie together really nicely.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? So, Bob, in reference to upgrading, as I was saying, even though your 2014 is a little old, do you have does it boot from solid state drives or does it boot from rotational drives?
It's rotational. It's
Okay.
it's that hybrid drive that they came out with way
The
back.
the Fusion.
Yeah.
If I would recommend replacing that with a solid state drive. And then you can do anything. As I said, let me pull up this about this Mac. I don't know if you could see this, but it's a 2013 late MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Only got 8 gigs of RAM running Sonoma.
Mm-hmm.
And apps, if just to show you the speed wise, let me launch Word, which is always a bear. Only takes a couple of seconds to launch.
Hmm.
So, and this thing's only got 8 gigs of RAM. If it had more, it would be better. But I use this when I'm on the road if I don't want to take my full 16-inch laptop with me. And it works really nice.
Are you, I mentioned security updates. You don't think that's an issue?
No. Because what it does is it
I guess
patches the
if I got on
system.
Sonoma, I could get the security, couldn't I?
Yeah. And you don't even have to go all the way up to Sonoma if you didn't want to. But as far as security updates, if it's like browser related, you can get Firefox.
Yeah.
And
Well, you gave me something to think about.
yeah, and if you want to try it, you will need a solid state drive, but just email me and I could help you out, walk you
I
through the
noticed
steps.
I ran into a YouTube video that talked about how to force Sonoma on these older machines, but it seemed kind of complicated to me.
Well, I use software called Open Core Patcher. You basically run it, you tell it the machine, it reconfigures everything. And then when you reboot your computer, it just lets you run the updaters.
And then what do you do with all the software? Does the software update along with it? The apps?
Well, it depends on the software that you have.
Yeah, whether they can run on that new platform. Yeah.
Very little that could run, as long as it's 64-bit software, most of it could run.
Okie doke. Well, thanks for the idea.
Anybody else have any questions?
Quiet tonight.
As somebody said, probably everybody's shopping.
Order the watches before they run out.
I have a feeling that I read an article on 9 to 5 Mac. They said the White House is keeping a close eye on this because the White House can go in and say, they could side with Apple and just say Apple is not going to ban them. And it throws that whole thing out.
Will the European Commission then go and say, okay, but you can't sell Apple Watches here?
Well, it's been done before, from what I understood. The ITC has banned something, and when Obama was in, the White House came in and said, no, you can't ban them, and just stopped it.
Well, it's so quiet. Why don't we start our break now and come back for the main event? We are fortunate enough to have an interesting guest presenter this month. Marty Jenkins. He's a professor in Ohio, and he gives a really nice talk on AI, what it is, what it's good for, who might want to use it, and makes it simple enough so we can understand it.
Oh, that sounds interesting, Bob. A lot of talk in AI over in my other community. I did stumble on a very interesting read if anybody's interested in this in the bigger picture, primarily addressing the concern of the singularity. And that's where AI advances into AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Well, if you have a link
yes,
to
the
it, why don't
book
you
is
put it in the chat, David?
okay. Yeah.
See everybody in about 10 minutes.